In my previous video, recorded about 2 weeks ago, I told you about the weaknesses of the Brompton electric design and how you could just take a standard steel frame Brompton, even the cheapest ones for 11 or 1200, and add a kit such as I recommended and create a bike that is in many ways much better than what you could buy from the Brompton company for close to $4,000. In this video, I'm going to tell you about e-bikes that you can get if you don't want to fuss with kits and if you are unhappy with what the electric Brompton has to offer, especially for the price. Now, somebody added a funny comment to my original video in German, and you have to scroll down pretty far, but this is the comment. So this person is saying that the kit is too weak and too ugly. The battery case is ugly. I actually think the battery bag, the smaller bag, is one of the more attractive bags of the Brompton because it is more tall than wide, which I think looks better. But then he says you have to lean over the handlebar to switch gears. Gears are not easy to find and to switch. And when you hit a bump, the battery is going to jump out. It may not jump out, but the attachment is actually not any stronger, not any more secure than the attachment they had with the basic steel frame, which caused a problem for me in the past. If you want to look up my video on it, I think it's titled The Brompton's Greatest Flaw. I fixed that flaw, and I check every few months. I haven't had a problem ever since. But, putting a heavy battery onto the kind of attachment they already had with nothing to secure it, no Loctite or any kind of a glue that would cement the screws in it, was a bit reckless in my opinion, especially given the money they charge. But in any case, so all of these problems are legitimate. I already told you about the kits you can use, but installing a kit is not necessarily problem-free. Almost everybody is going to have to fuss with things, relocate some of the things. For example, if you install the switch bike kit in the front, then the front handlebar is not going to fold. So you may want to install it on the back, or you may want to drop it into the bag, in which case it's going to be harder to switch things around and to do anything, to see the speed. If whatever you want to do, basically the computer is going to be in the bag. So I had to deal with such things myself. I had a problem with the sensor being too far away from the crank, so I had to devise a padding, basically, which I did with some handlebar tape. And not everybody is up for doing that. And just a little reflection on the past. If you look at the Birdy used to try to sell an electric version similarly to the Brompton, but they went with a kit, which is very common for mechanical bike companies. If they try to sell you an electric version, then they will just get an easy kit and install it. This was the Bionics kit. The kit had many problems, and this installation of putting this heavy bag with the battery in it this far up just makes no sense. It uglifies the bike and lifts the center of gravity so far up in the front. It just does not work. Now I should point out that the Birdy cannot be powered from the front. You cannot put a powered wheel into the front suspension because this unique system, as brilliant as it is for handling the bumps on the road, is not gonna like the front wheel trying to move forward by itself. Any attempt like that would just rip apart the suspension. And now you understand why I am on the Brompton. This is possibly the most important reason why I chose to work on the Brompton platform, giving up the Birdy, because if you power the front wheel, you still have access to the rear wheel, and you can put a hub gear into it, which would allow you to match the speeds of most road bikes out there, especially if you supersize and tune the chain wheel, which is also a possibility. And so I tuned everything, and now I can go as fast as a road bike or even faster. Now, getting back to the Riese und Müller Birdy, eventually they gave up on the electric and they decided to come up with a unique frame for their electric design. And this is the Riese und Müller Tinker, which is now the Tinker 2. This is the second generation. And instead of the Birdy, this is what they recommend that you buy. It's not a cheap bike. This is going to set you back about 50-60% more than the Brompton. But look at what you're getting. You're getting full 20-inch wheels. This is the Big Ben Schwalbe tire. This is wider than 2 inches. So that's how massive it is. It has significant front suspension in the fork. Unfortunately not in the rear, but you can order a suspension seat post, which is going to kind of mimic a rear suspension. Not perfectly. It's not as good as having a rear suspension, but certainly this is a lot more than what you would be getting from a Brompton. You are also getting belt drive, state-of-the-art, built-in, out of the box. The rear hub is CVT. No steps are required. It is continuously variable transmission. And you get hydraulic brakes front and rear. Again, way above what the Brompton offers. And the fact that this is a center drive means that you can, if you get a flat, you can take it pretty much to any bike store. Not that I would take a bike as expensive as this one to a nearby bike shop, but even for yourself, just to remove the wheels and fix the flat is far easier than if you had to deal with wires running into the wheel. This is a bar system. The bar system remains possibly the most reliable and best designed e-bike system in the world. So far, I don't think a single one of them has been recalled. And this is not a folding bike, but this front, the steering column folds down 100%. The rear, the seat column can be pulled out. So if you want to make it stand up on the rear wheel, you can get it into elevators. You can even get it into many revolving doors, which I think is one of the reasons why anybody would want to buy a small wheel bicycle. To fit into apartments, to get past revolving doors, to get into elevators without infuriating everybody. And you can configure it almost like a car. You have some color choices. Mine would be the white one. So this is really like an apartment moped. This is like a little scooter that you can keep next to your bed in a studio apartment. Very neat. You have to pay extra for the suspension seat. My preference would be to not get the suspension seat, just to buy your own with a lot more travel than this tiny travel this thing has. And integrated lighting as well, which I think is nice. Although it's a bit unnerving for me. I prefer to have independent lights as well. But you can buy those as an extra for an emergency and keep that in your handlebar bag. So this would be one option for you. The Tinker 2 from Riese und Müller for $6,200 at least, plus taxes. Is this too much? We are not done. How about the Gocycle? We are now getting into a price range that is lower than what the Brompton is charging. This is what Brompton is going to give you for $3,700. And here is the Gocycle for hundreds less. You're getting a carbon fiber front fork, aluminum center, and a fully enclosed drivetrain. There is actually a chain inside, but it is fully enclosed, so I don't think you're going to need to touch it much. And notice that there is a significant suspension in the rear here. I don't know if this is adjustable or not. The bike certainly folds. Not as tiny as the Brompton, but definitely to get into any crevice where you need to get into, or to park it under your desk. And you get spokeless wheels suspended only from one side, so you can fix flats without ever removing the wheel. And hydraulic front and rear disc brakes. Hidden enclosed cabling for the most part. And tires that could be at least 2 inches wide. Maybe even you could go a little wider, but 2 inches definitely would fit. This is their own proprietary tire design, but this is not the only one you can get. Phenomenal. I would say the deal you're getting here is phenomenal. For less money than the Brompton. And check this out, you can get 500 watts instead of the 250 you get from the Brompton. Now, I'm not so sure if they would not charge you a little bit more for 500. Their claim is that for the US market it is 500. I'm not sure if there is an extra charge. At the minimum, you would get 20 miles per hour. That's how they originally sold the bike. And even that would be better than the Brompton Electric, which is limited to 15 miles an hour. And then it switches off. In any case, whatever it is, whatever the speed limit is, having a more powerful motor can only help you. It gives you better acceleration just in case you need to get out of a dangerous situation. The rear hub gear is only 3 speeds. That's actually very similar to what you would be getting from the Brompton. But I think overall this is a whole lot more bike for the money. A whole lot more. And the weight is less than 40 pounds. Very nicely done. It's a beautiful bike, available in several colors. If you want to go up in price, they also have fancier versions, but you can get these 3 colors for under $3,500. How is that? But then, they go up all the way to, my goodness, $7,000. I don't know if you get more speed for that. You get fancier wheels. And I'm not sure if you get more carbon fiber or why it's more expensive. But at this point, we are already under the price of the Brompton Electric and getting a whole lot more. Now finally, this is not, the other 2 bikes are included on my landing page. You can always click below, go over to my landing page and check out what I'm recommending. But I'm going to include an honorable mention. This is not as cool as a handmade bike. This is a Chinese-made concoction, but via an American company. So you get support, you get some warranty, and I've never heard of one of their batteries burning down. So you get some safety as well. And look at the price. We are not going down to less than half the price of a Brompton Electric. And even with this thing, you get 20-inch wheels. You don't get hydraulic disc brakes, but you get mechanic ones, which are still better than the grip brakes you are getting with the Brompton. And massive tires, no suspension, but definitely a huge amount of tire. And the styling, obviously you're not going to get the precision and build quality of anything handmade. So either the Brompton, the Gocycle, the Tinker are going to be way above this level. But it is foldable and quite compact. It has a kind of a cutesy mini SUV styling, which I actually don't mind. And it can do 20 miles an hour out of the box. It's probably going to last a good 7 to 10 years if you take care of it. I should also mention that even though it is speed restricted, the 750 watt motor is actually more power than what I have in my mercilessly powerful Brompton Interceptor, which I built and tuned, and which to my knowledge is the fastest Brompton in the world, not to mention faster than any of the road bikes that ever tried to race me in the New York area. So you do get in some ways more than what the Brompton gives you for a whole lot less. Now, obviously, if you have a kit, especially if you have the grain kit, which is my favorite, you are free to tune it, to change it any way you want to. That is not something you're gonna get with a prefab bicycle. You can't even get into this drivetrain that you have. You cannot supersize any of the wheels. You can't tune anything. You can't get into anywhere. I mean, the controller is built into somewhere probably in this frame. That's where the battery is. Forget about tuning any of these. So when you buy a prefab bike, you just have to make sure that you're buying something with the specs that you like. If you don't like the specs, you're not going to be able to change much. Same thing with the Bosch. There are some companies online that try to tune the Bosch system, which is nearly impossible. The only way to do that would be with sophisticated electronics. There are some companies that actually sell that stuff, but it's just not easy to do. So I don't recommend that you try to tune bikes like this. You just have to accept that you have what you have. You have the chain wheel, you have a certain gear system. You have to like it before you buy the bike. And so that's why I personally prefer to work with the Brompton, because I was able to tune the hell out of it and to make it into a true pocket rocket, which it still is, upgrading everything. And I guess most of us who have been tuning Brompton frames are probably not going to stop. We are going to keep on tuning them and making them better and better. So these are the 3 bikes I recommend. The last one, this Radpower, is more of an honorable mention. It's definitely not in line with the top of the line stuff I feature on this channel, but the other 2 certainly are, and you can get an excellent bike, much better than the Brompton Electric, for a bit less. This is it for the current video, and I'll see you in the next one.